what we're going to talk about in this first part, because this is a 4-part series, okay? We're going to first start off with the astronauts with third dimensional space travel. And we know those to be coming out of NASA. The one in Florida or Texas is the question. Well, we know that they're all over the place from Alaska to Wyoming. Different facilities do different things. Some monitor the astronauts, like in the Kennedy Space Center and Johnson Space Center in Texas. Other facilities may monitor the data that is being read back from different land rovers and things like this that are on different planets, or even to collect the information that they may be sending back from space itself, dealing with weather and a number of things. An astronaut is a person who's trained to travel in a spacecraft. So I have a little short video here. It's only a minute or so, but I want you to pay attention to the words that the operator is saying in that control center. I want you to really pay attention because of the fact that these are the same precepts or concepts that are used with time traveling, believe it or not. So here we go. Let's check this out.
T-minus 1 minute, 35 seconds on the Apollo mission, the flight to land of the first men on the moon. All indications coming in to the control center at this time indicate we are go. 1 minute, 25 seconds in the counting. Our status board indicates the third stage completely pressurized. 80-second mark has now been passed. We'll go on full internal power at the 50-second mark in the countdown. Guidance system goes on internal at 17 seconds, leading up to the ignition sequence at 8.9 seconds. We're approaching the 60-second mark on the Apollo 11 mission. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We passed T-minus 60. 55 seconds and counting. Neil Armstrong just reported back. It's been a real smooth countdown. We passed the 50-second mark. Power transfer is complete. We're on internal power with the launch vehicle at this time. 40 seconds away from the Apollo 11 liftoff.
You can see the water
down the
second
stage tanks
in
now
there
pressurized. 35 seconds and counting. We are still go with Apollo 11. 30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12. 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy, it looks good, Wally.
Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program.
Somebody must be leaving town.
Reporting federal pitch program.
Building shaking. We're getting that buffeting we've become used to. What a moment. Man on the way to the moon.
Trajectory so far, doesn't it, Wally? Very good, very good. That's
Beautiful.
We heard power transfer. Okay, I don't know if you wrote that down, but that'll be a good time to write it down now. Power transfer. Also, we heard internal power. Okay, internal power. We also heard guidance is internal. Guidance is internal. We also heard ignition sequence started. Ignition sequence started. Then, of course, we heard liftoff. And then we began to hear the of the news people, the newscasters and anchors that were filming this and monitoring this takeoff. We heard them say that's a good trajectory. It looks good. And also, The guy at the control center also said that Neil Armstrong said it feels good. So we're talking census. Okay, we're talking number. We heard numbers. We heard T minus. We heard all these different stuff. What do we mean when we say all this number? How does the Chronaut deal with numbers? How does the Chronaut use numbers? But when we hear it the long time talk about number, we're talking about mathematical frequencies that are created by interval relationships of different numbers. A different number, numbers mean things. Numbers can mean something different when it's with another number. We can attune to these numbers at their dimensional levels. So it's important for us to know how to attune to numbers as a chrononaut. Okay, and as an astronaut too, because if the people in those centers that were mapping all of that out, what they called back then human computers, and we saw a movie that came out with one of the black ladies who was a major player in creating and putting those number frequencies together to the point where one of the astronauts wouldn't even go up unless he knew that she was on the team, because her calculations were just that spot on. So numbers are very important. It helps us to help the astronauts to get to the trajectory that they want to get to, but it also helps the chrononaut, especially when it comes to vibrating to the different thought forms, what we intend to activate. When it comes to telepathy and manifestation in the physical plane, okay, all that's going to come down to creating matter, and also working in the mental and psychic arenas. So yes, number is very important. So intergalactic travel, hypothetical crew or uncrewed travel between galaxies. They're saying due to the enormous distances between galaxy, Milky Way galaxy, and the closest one to us, which I think is Andromeda, is tens of thousands of millions of light years away, right? So any such venture will be far more technologically demanding than even interstellar travel. Intergalactic distances are roughly 100,000 fold greater than their interstellar counterparts. They're looking at distances in the physical material world. Now, how does the chrononaut how do we look at distance? We say that in telepathy, there is no distance. There is no distance. Telepathy closes the gap to distance. And we're going to see how that's going to happen as we continue on. But let's finish out for the astronauts for right now. Let's look at the types of spacecraft for space travel that are AI affiliated. So artificial intelligence does have its place on this planet and in different endeavors. However, we know that we are the authority, okay? We are the absolute intelligence. So meaning that anything that the artificial intelligence can do, we can do, and that much more better. So let's just look at 8 of the different spacecraft that they have, and these will be considered unmanned spacecraft. Okay, they have the flyby, the orbiter, the atmospheric, the lander, the rover, the penetrator, the observatory, and the communications. And remember when we saw those different cities, Alaska, Wyoming, and all over there, they're the ones that may be monitoring these spacecraft to collect the data that is sending back. Now, we know that they're collecting data and sending it back. When we read here, off the antennas are off the Earth point. They must be able to survive long periods of interplanetary cruise. So once they get up there, they have to be able to continue up there until their mission is completed. Remember the Cassini? That's an orbiter spacecraft that orbits around a specific planet. It went to, I want to say, Saturn. Cassini stayed up there for years. And when it was time for it to be done with this mission, instead of them programming it to come back, it simply crashed on Saturn, and which is lousy, I think. If you have the artificial intelligence to send a spacecraft, unmanned spacecraft to Saturn, then you should have had enough to send it to bring it right back where they don't have to crash on someone else's planet. That's just common courtesy, I think, interstellarly. All right, then we have the atmospheric spacecraft that's up there collecting different information about how the space weather is changing. What do they have to look forward to? How is what's going on? Then they have the lander spacecraft. That's one of the famous ones on Mars. Uh, that's collecting rocks and looking at the different soil, things like that. Then there's the penetrator. The surface penetrators have been designed for entering the surface of a body, such as a comet. Then we have the observatory spacecraft that does not travel to a destination to explore. Instead, it occupies Earth's orbit, to just see what's going on. The targets the free of obscuring and blurring effects of Earth's atmosphere. Well, they really should take something up there to clean up the atmosphere and in spaces. There's so many satellites that aren't being used now that are still out there. So it's been so long since we heard about astronauts going to the moon or anywhere. So when Space Shuttle Atlantis touched down on Cape Canaveral on July 21st, 2011, few thought it would take more than 8 years for astronauts to launch back into orbit from U.S. soil. The only way to the International Space Station has been, and back since that time, has been via Russian rockets and capsules that's launched from the Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Now, we know now that Elon Musk is giving them a ride to the ISS. And why is that? Because for some reason, the government isn't giving NASA the money that they need. And so basically what they're doing is going private. NASA is not going to purchase, own, or operate the hardware. They're in fact going to be a customer. Excuse me. They're going to buy a service. And that's where Elon Musk comes in with his Dragon spacecraft, Falcon 9 rocket. And he has been transporting the astronauts up there and taking supplies up there and giving the Russians a lift and everything. So that's how he's making money. So when they get up there, what is the mission? So space travel, or more precisely, space exploration, is important for a number of reasons. First, it's important to understand the universe that we live in and exploring the other planets and someday stars and other phenomena in the universe. It's important to helping advance our understanding of how the universe works. What would be your mission as a chrononaut? Where are you going to go as a chrononaut? We know that the astronauts went to the moon, and we know that they have different spacecraft that's going to other planets like Saturn and Mars and to the sun itself. But where will you go? Okay, provided that you have the information and you have all the tools that you need, where will you go? So what does it take physically to space travel? What does it take those astronauts to do all that space traveling? The physical aspects of astronaut training. Astronaut training is a complex process involving physical training and medical tests. So, and this is from the BBC News. This is asking, could it be you? I want you to pay attention to what it is that they have to do. It's a must. And they have to check it off in their logbook. They cannot skip any of these exercises and whatnot. But as you're looking at this, I want you to also keep in the back of your mind of what a chrononaut will have to do as well. So here we go. And so we see a lot of different things happening there. We see how they have to continually exercise. It's a must for 2 hours at the very least. And they have to heal themselves if they get sick. They have to fix their environment, their working space. If anything is gone awry, they have to know how to take care of every aspect of anything that could go wrong. Okay. Astronaut training is indeed complex. We must discuss how the avatar responds to launch and landing when it's time for them to launch into space and land on space, out of space. And we want to look at the on-orbit operations, okay, when we discuss the physical training and special exercises. Then we're going to understand a little better why they have to exercise for 2 hours and to learn how to heal themselves. It's because launch and landing, upon the astronauts launching and landing, will be exposed to motion sickness and orthostatic intolerance and cardiovascular events. These are very serious. So motion sickness is due to virtual reality. It's very similar to simulation sickness and motion sickness due to films. In other words, you can go look at a movie and it may be something happening on the screen that will actually give you motion sickness according to what you're perceiving through your mind. And that's going to be key. Perceive. What are you perceiving through your mind, through what the brain is locked in to think or to believe? Okay. And a lot of times we have to get rid of belief systems so that we don't fall back into a program that we are have been using or indoctrinated with since we've been on the planet. So in virtual reality, the effect is made more acute as all external reference points are blocked from vision. The simulated images are three-dimensional. And when we think three-dimensional, we tend to think also of hologram. We know we're living in a hologram. And in some cases, stereo sound that may also give a sense of motion. It'll go like surround sound and we're like, whoa, and it makes us feel some type of motion. So we're talking motion sickness here. In addition, motion sickness, also called seasickness, it's a common disturbance of the inner ear. And this is the area of the body that affects your sense of balance and equilibrium. How important is that going into space? Motion sickness happens when your brain receives conflicting messages about motion and your body's position in space. That's what I was saying about the Chronaut having to get rid of some beliefs, not to get locked in or let the brain not deceive them, but and convince them of something that just not so. The conflicting messages are delivered from your inner ear, from your eyes, what you see, your skin receptors, what you feel, and muscle and joint sensors. But we also know that touch, taste, smell, sound, and vision can be bumped up to through our senses on a higher plane. Okay, we're going to go over that when we get to the Chronaut. Now, what are the warning signs of orthostatic intolerance? What are the warning signs? Talking about dizziness and lightheadedness, hypotension, blurry vision. Vision is a condition where individual's eyesight is obscured, confusion, dysfunctions in the atomic nervous system that cause orthostatic intolerance. We're talking fainting. But these are the warning signs of all of that. And this is what they have to watch out for as an astronaut. Now, you might say, what does that have to do with Chronaut? Dizziness and blurred vision and confusion and fainting. Well, we're going to see, because it's really not that much more difference. It's just on a different level. So let's continue on. Cardiovascular events. Wow. You know, when you're talking about the heart, you really don't want to mess around and fool around. You want to know how to heal yourself if you have any symptoms, you know, because you can't call a doctor. You could, but, you know, it's not like they can come to you if you're in space and they're on Earth. So cardiovascular events refer to any incidents that may cause damage to the heart muscle. The heart is a busy organ, constantly pumping blood filled with oxygen and nutrients through your arteries into the heart muscle. And any interruption of blood flow will cause an injury or an infarction. And this is called a heart attack or a myocardial infarction. And this is also known as coronary or cardiovascular event. That is what they want to stay away from. That is the reason why they have to exercise the way they do. This is the reason why they have to be made known how to administer medication to themselves and to cope, so that they don't get that motion sickness and then get all out of whack. So now, what about on orbit operations? Now you're still in that capsule. Let's look at that capsule. It's really small in there, isn't it? The astronauts' onboard operations may cause vertigo, spatial disorientation, radiation, isolation, and confinement. Now that's quite a lot, all right, that you're fighting up against just to do a mission, just to say you went into space. You have to battle vertigo, and then the disorientation. What's your name? I don't know. Who's the president? You can't think. Radiation. Radiation is very important because astronauts are very susceptible to cancer. Let's go to isolation. You're isolated. Who's going to be talking to you? Who's going to be there with you? The children are not there. Your husband, wife are not there. Your family, mom, dad, and the other astronauts are manning their parts of the station. So you may feel isolated and confined on top of it. And that may make you go crazy if you're not used to it or trained to get used to it, right? So we're going to stop it right here. Now we can begin to look at it from a different perspective as far as Chronaut. What will they have to go through? And so that's what we're going to pick up on next time on the second part of this 4-part series, Time Travel in 4D. That's what we're going to pick it up at. And so until then, peace to the gods.